Hello and welcome to the CX Files for 11th September 2025. My name is Mark Hillary and I'm in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
And I'm Peter Ryan in Montreal, Mark. Great to catch up with you, and great to bring a previous guest of the CX Files back onto our podcast, but equally as importantly, somebody who runs their own podcast as well. So a fellow podcaster.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking this week with David Powers, who's the Vice President of CX at Router Hero. Router Hero is a plumbing and aircon company based out in Los Angeles. So he's got a bit of a different profile to a lot of the kind of BPO type people that we talk to here, but clearly he's got a lot of great opinions on CX and very pragmatic kind of CX, because he has his own podcast, as you mentioned, CX Riot Radio. And that one definitely has a sort of parental warning on it because, he's got, he doesn't hold back in his opinions, and he plays a bit of death metal as well. So I'm sure that you know his show, Peter.
I love his show, and I would also say you and Dave also have something in common, Mark, in that you're both published authors. Dave has written a book that I've got a copy of and I refer to quite frequently, The Blue Collar Call Center. And I think that his point of view that he brings is not only refreshing, and it does come from a different angle than what we might see from some of the more traditional mainstream podcasters, but I always like his insight. I think he's got a very cutting wit, and how he presents his arguments is really tremendous in terms of how he sees the sector, where he sees the sector going, and calling out nonsense for what it is. And just so everybody knows, as Mark said, it's not a family-friendly podcast. He doesn't use the word nonsense. I think that there's certain initials, one might be B, the other one might be S, that he would use quite frequently.
Yeah. He posted, this conversation that we had, it came about because of something he posted on CX Riot Radio. And that was a discussion around what he called the three-faced AI God. And this was really, it was like he was kind of taking a really pragmatic view on how is AI really being used within CX, but how is it being portrayed by the media and a lot of the kind of tech analysts and the tech futurists. And as you might expect, there's a big disconnect between what people say is possible and what we should all be doing in our businesses today compared to what's really happening. But he's not completely rejecting the idea that AI is useful. What he's saying is there's places where it works really well. So if you want it to work for you, then focus on these particular use cases. So it's I would say pragmatism and cutting out the BS is really the sort of message that he's got.
But what's interesting here is the fact that we've been hearing this a lot, I'd say the last 6 months. The broader community in the customer experience frame, no matter where you are in the world, is saying we need to cut out the BS. People go to trade shows and they say, cut the BS, cut the nonsense, cut the rhetoric, cut the hype cycles. And I see it slowing down, but unfortunately, I still don't think that the providers of these solutions, whether it's the tech players or the BPOs that are trying to reimagine themselves or rebrand themselves as tech players, I don't think they're listening to a large degree.
Yeah, I think that there is a general reevaluation of generative AI going on at the moment, and that goes beyond just CX alone. But I think that we've gone from thinking, well, this is magic. Just look, how does this work? I can have a conversation with my computer, to people finally kind of understanding that it's just an algorithm. It's just taking a body of knowledge and then predicting what the most likely words are that are going to make sense. So you're never going to create great art from this, but you can filter information based on stuff that you've already got. You can find patterns, you can filter, you can summarize. And that's exactly what Dave's message is. Use it for what it works really well for, but forget about the kind of the dreamy stuff that you've been promised.
Yeah, on that note, I was watching a few old episodes of Space 1999 the other day, and the dreamy stuff that we might have imagined around Moonbase Alpha with Barbara Bain and Martin Landau, that is literally just stuff. It's the stuff of science fiction. Dave has got an incredible message. Dave has got incredible experience and has the bona fides to back the message up. So I'm going to recommend that we head over to the interview you conducted with our friend Dave Powers to find out a little bit more on his take on where AI sits in the CX domain.
All right, David, it's great to get you back. Now, I was listening the other day to CX Riot Radio, your podcast, and it just kept making me burst out laughing. You were exploring AI for CX, and normally there's just a lot of cliches around this subject. We've been seeing this for at least the last 2 years, maybe 3 years. Everybody just talking about the advantage of CX and how it's going to automate everything. But you actually called it three-faced AI God. You listed quite a lot of negative actions that companies are using CX for, and a few positive ones as well. I mean, maybe just those kind of negative aspects would be great if you could just kind of say, what are you seeing that's going wrong with this?
Right. So no, that's a good question. Yeah, the three-faced AI God. First, kind of a cool title, right? And but for the negatives that we're seeing now is the over reliance on automations and AI that are kind of one frustrating customers, right? Frustrating the human agents that are still left in the industry. And honestly, customers so far from every survey that I've read and I've looked at, they don't like it yet. So they don't trust it. Even when they don't know it's AI, the uncanny valley kind of kicks in. And after a couple of sentences, they can tell and they ask for a human agent. That's what we found, honestly, in real life too.
Yeah.
Like there was that one study where everything was going well with it, right? And then they found out it was an AI agent and trust automatically vanished. So that's something that transparency would kind of cover. But right now, like CX is already not doing that well in the public sphere, right? Every year, year after year, it goes down. The numbers are atrocious. And this, where everything is becoming self-serve, it doesn't work, especially with older demographics or in crisis or panic mode CX, where the industry I work in, which is blue collar home services, right, the trades, they're not calling in because they want to chat or discuss a bill, right? They're calling in because their AC isn't working, it was 100 degrees out, or their house is flooding, right?
Yeah.
They don't want to go to a website and book their own appointment, even though that's easy, that's pretty non-friction. They want to talk to someone, a real human, that will assure them that, hey, we'll get out there, right?
Yeah.
So on the agent standpoint, right, things like accent neutralization, I've talked to a lot of people in the Philippines, and some of them are like, yeah, that's all right. And then vast majority, like, why? Aren't we doing good enough? So I don't know. Those are some of the negatives. That and sometimes AI just gets it completely wrong.
Yeah. And then, I mean, on that accent stuff, I mean, not only are you not trusting your agents to just deliver and do a good job, but then you're also kind of creating the uncanny valley as well. Yeah. Once people the customer kind of starts realizing that there's been some sort of electronic modification to this voice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the sad part, right? Because any good company that offshores or outsources their customer service, they're going to give these people the same training that they would have given the in-house agents. I mean, obviously, sometimes they don't. It's kind of just here you go, do it kind of thing, right? But any good company would. So these people have the same training, the same resources that any in-house would do. They just have They just have an accent, right?
Yeah.
And even if the voice neutralization is pristine and it's amazing, it can't hide sentence structure,
Mm.
right? And if everything is going well, and then there's a glitch and the voice neutralizer fails and the real accent comes through, the customer just loses complete trust in this. And that's kind of a two thing here. One, it's why are you lying to me? Right.
Mm.
And two, there's maybe some inherent, I don't want to call it racism, but that's the closest thing that I can come to, where an accent means they're not as knowledgeable with this as someone who doesn't have an accent.
Yeah. 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 And so, I mean, what's the good stuff then? I mean, how would you summarize the good kind of use cases? What have people been doing that's positive?
The positive use cases that I've seen, and we've had these for a while, right? Just scripting prompts, agent assist cards, the automated knowledge bases, right? Things where it helps the agent do the job easier and more thorough, right? Things like automatic summaries for the calls, right? Things like a little pop-up that's going to remind them of things they're talking about. Auto QA is pretty good. I wouldn't rely 100% on it. I'd want a human to kind of spot check it, but that saves a lot of time and it's mostly accurate, right? So things like that are positives. They help the agents out and they help the agents help the customers, which is the important thing. And the more things we can get like that, which just streamlines the agent experience, I think that's going to be, well, one, the future of AI and CX, unless, cost savings is the ultimate goal here, right?
Yeah.
Which not always a good thing. So
Yeah. But why is there so much confusion then? I mean, isn't it kind of obvious if you're sitting there, running a customer service team, and you're being asked to introduce some of these tools? I mean, you can see that clearly. If it's giving agent assist, if it's helping with personalization, this kind of stuff, yeah, there's a win there. But
yeah,
all this kind of other stuff, it seems obvious that it's not working very well.
right. And here's the thing on that, right? The people who are demanding or wanting to bring these things in don't work in customer service. They work in finance or they work in IT and technology, right? So they've probably never taken a call or helped a customer out over the phone, right? And to be fair, this stuff is cheaper than a real live human agent, right? So to be fair, it looks really good on the balance sheet at the executive meetings every quarter. So, but they've never worked in customer service, or if they have, it's been decades, right? And so they don't know what the ramifications are for the customer themselves.
Mm. Yeah.
That's why, in a nutshell, it comes
Mm.
down to how much can we shave off the bottom line.
Mm-hmm. What about for like organizations that are just struggling and they never manage to answer the kind of call volume they get? The IRS is a good example in America. They've already announced that in 26 they only expect to answer about 11% of calls. So surely these kind of organizations must be like just waiting to get some automation. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And struggling businesses like that can't afford to hire additional agents to kind of reduce that wait time, which, I mean, I don't think the IRS is struggling, but it is what it is. So that is a good use case for self-serve. And the more you can introduce that, the better, as long as there's a human behind it that can check it and can answer in a timely manner. Right. That's what was really worrying me about the Keep Call Centers in America Act, which either won't be passed or it'll be completely neutered if it does. Where that's cool, that's awesome. nothing sparks my patriotism like keeping jobs in America, right? And I think a lot of people think that about their own countries. But just imagine the wait time. Just imagine the frustration that customers will have to deal with if that happens. And then the other side of that is the tech companies, the AI companies are going to make bank off of that, right?
Yeah.
So I think automation is good. I'm never against automating. I'm just my whole point of this is to keep as much humanity into customer service as possible. So
Yeah.
if that means, hey, with an IVR, and I know everybody has different opinions about IVRs. I personally hate them. But if a company is struggling, getting an AI voice bot or an AI agent is not a bad thing inherently. What I would ask is that the customer is given a choice. At the beginning of the call, press 1 to speak to a human. There's a wait time of X, or speak to our AI agent, and they can help you with this.
Yeah.
So I think that's the best case going forward, which solves both issues.
Yeah. Yeah. And where we see the human agents involved, I've seen recently much more of a focus on the relationship, much more around, you're representing the brand. Don't worry so much about AHT and this kind of, you're not just trying to get the customer off the phone in 1 minute. If it takes 5 minutes and we've got a really satisfied customer, then that's fine. But everything that you were kind of talking about on your podcast was just creating sterile, fake, like soulless agents, I think you called it.
Yep.
So I mean, how can any of that really be a win?
That's the thing, right? It's not. The most the competitive advantage that we're going to find in 5 years is going to be human, right? Call us. We have human agents ready to take your call, right? Um, those other companies, they're all AI. They're not going to take care of you, and if they do, it's going to be like cookie cutter, right? Um, but yeah, refocusing customer service human agents to instead of just transactional, right, conversations, more like what a good customer success agent would do, right? Where everything is personalized and AI can help with that. They can bring up a summary of the customer's account really easily and just be there for the customer, help them with the more nuanced, complicated stuff, and personalize everything, which AI is good for giving that data, right? Now, AI by itself is dry, uncanny valley, kind of like it's not there yet. And I've heard some really good AI voice bots that kind of pretend to have empathy, but the one that I was looking at, I'm not going to mention the company, right? But it went so overboard that it became hilarious with the empathy.
Yeah.
Like it was like a comedy skit.
Yeah.
So, but no, the here's the thing. Companies that still rely on human agents are going to win if they do it right. If they have the agent assist tools, if
Yeah.
they have the summarizations, the ability to personalize or get that personal information so the agent can succeed, those are the companies that I see as winning.
I mean, you might have answered this already then, but I mean, the bottom line just seems to be that the real focus on automation just seems to be an endless race to the bottom. Like with the bottom here being not even just the cost of offshore CX, but now like almost zero cost. You just boot up some software and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's awesome in a dystopian cyberpunk kind of way, right? But it's just like if you offshored or outsourced your call center to a to a BPO that you didn't do your research on, right? Or that lied to you, like to your face about how effective they were. And yeah, you cut all this cost, but then your revenue is down, your CSAT is down, everything goes down because the person taking your calls kind of sucks, right?
Yeah.
So, and I was talking to some company owners of trade companies, right? And they did that. They outsourced their call centers, and this was both offshore and onshore, and their booking rate fell by 20%, right? Their CSAT fell. They were getting more and more leads. Their marketing was doing well, but there was a decrease in actual like appointments put on the schedule. Right. So that cost savings got eaten up by the revenue shortfalls.
Right.
So
Yeah. And that's a good point, because that's what I was going to ask you about. Like, how do you get the message from the kind of customer service leader to the suits in the boardroom? You know, is it that you can demonstrate improved personalization, better customer interaction, or even just like, if you have those conversations, you can do cross-selling and upselling. You can actually do revenue generation. I mean, what is the kind of, what's the key to getting them to understand this?
Right. So the best way of getting the higher ups to understand this is simply show them the data, right? And yeah, you can pretty it up with charts and graphs and stuff if that's what the upper management is into. But all you have to do is like, hey, I was doing some research on this. This company did exactly what we're planning on doing, and this is what happened with them. Right? Do we want to do this? Chances are, if they're smart, they're going to say no. Or they're going to be like, well, make it work.
Yeah.
But the key is to tie revenue and ROI into these tools, right? Into personalization, into everything that we've talked about. Because honestly, especially if there's like a CFO involved, that's at the end of the day, that's what's going to matter. If it makes mathematical sense. So you have to find a way to tie ROI into this, case studies, research, or even a pilot program, right? Where you take one segment of your customer base and put them through what you're planning on doing for the rest of the company and seeing how that works.
Yeah. Okay. And just to wrap up then, I wanted to focus on something you said. You were saying, like, use the AI to give the agents a sixth sense, but don't erase their voice, and I think that's a really good sort of summary of everything we've been talking about, is like, just use it positively to help the agent rather than trying to replace them. And there is a lot of talk across the technology industry of an AI winter now, as so many companies are struggling to use AI effectively. Do we need, like, within the CX environment, do we just need a sort of dose of common sense, like a focus on here's where it works and here's where you're going to struggle?
Right. No, I 100% agree with that. We need that dose of common sense, and I think we need to double down on that common sense. A lot of CX people in companies kind of roll over when it comes to these kind of things. So it's they become yes men when it comes to revenue, because I mean, honestly, they don't want to lose their jobs, right? So, and I get that. But when it's when the future of the company is at stake, you have to stand up and you have to be like, this won't work yet. We can try this again in a couple of years, maybe. But right now, most of the companies that roll out AI, there's no ROI on it, or there's revenue loss. So let's wait. Let's see. Let's get this stuff. This stuff is proven to work, right? And yeah, but that dose of common sense, I know that they say common sense isn't very common, right? But that would go a long way, especially to cut through the marketing hype that a lot of AI companies are pushing out.
Yeah, well, MIT just published some research recently saying 95% of projects they looked at were not creating any ROI at all. Like, everybody is running pilots and experiments. They're not actually generating any value for the business. But you can see like within the kind of CX environment, if you just said, we're just going to focus on agent assist and nothing else, then I think you could pretty easily do some sort of A/B testing to see which agents are getting value from it.
100%. And we've done that where I am, right? And it did help. It did help. So a lot, actually, like embarrassingly a lot. Because at first I was pretty skeptical on even that, right? But it was just like, oh, okay. These summaries are right. These assist cards are good, and they're booking more jobs. And that's how, at the end of the day, that's how companies should check the success of a program, not the CSAT, although that's important, not this, that, and the other, but the revenue that's generated from it.
Yeah. All right. That's a good place to wind up then. Thanks a lot, David. Cheers.
Yeah, no, my pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the CX Files podcast. We really appreciate your feedback and suggestions. You can reach myself, Mark Hillary, or Peter Ryan via LinkedIn. Please also leave a rating or review on your favorite podcast provider, as that helps more people to find us. As always, we'd like to thank Chris Haig at Traction Media for the CX Files graphics. See you next week.